Hello, it's Tamika, a new me 1109, and there's been something on my heart for the last couple of weeks, and it has to do with boundaries and whether or not you think that it's important to establish boundaries, food boundaries, after you've had weight loss surgery. So I think it's important. I think it's important to sort of have a yes, I can eat these things list and a no, I cannot eat these things list. Because, as we go throughout this journey, you will find, if you're really paying attention, you will find that there are things that will trigger you to want to eat more. There are things that just simply will not work with your new tummy. There are things that might make you feel sad, might make you feel a little depressed when you eat them. I think it's important to sort of be able to identify all those things in addition to the things that our surgeons have told us not to eat. So, a perfect example is before I was even banded, I was told that I needed to avoid fibrous foods, things such as broccoli and asparagus that isn't cooked well because it can get down in my stoma, so that small opening underneath my band, it can get down in there and get stuck and cause problems. So one of the 10 rules that I follow is avoid fibrous foods. Another thing that I was told was to avoid things that can expand, such as rice and pasta. And I was also told to stay away from doughy breads because those can create problems. In addition to those things, I was told that carbonation can stretch your pouch, and so I should stay away from that. Now, subsequent to being banded, I've heard people say, oh no, that's not true, that can't happen. Well, I remember when I was like in second grade and we had an assembly and they taught me the concept of nope to dope and ugh to drugs, and I believed it. And so the same thing applies to these things that they told me can potentially create problems for me. I just went into this situation knowing that I needed to avoid them. And as I've been on this journey, I've also realized things like if I wake my card monster up, he's hard to put back to sleep. So if I start eating, the carby types of things, even like crackers and things like that, I had my little sort of weird situation with sun chips because I sort of tricked myself into believing that they were healthier than regular chips. And the amount that I ate sort of grew and grew and grew until one day I was like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Ding, 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 ding. And so those need to go on the no list. So as I am progressing through my journey, I am continuing to, when I try new things and they work, I put them on the yes list. I add to that list. When I try something that just isn't, bottom line, it just isn't good for my band. Some examples of those things are like chicken nuggets and, any processed, breaded, grilled faux chicken. It just does not work for me. So I know that those things all have to go on my no list. Now, for the next person, that might very well work. But for me, I have to know what works for me during my journey and what doesn't work for me. I have to establish some type of boundaries. The same thing applies to how much I'm going to eat. So I was told that I needed to eat between a half a cup and 1 cup of food. And that's what my mind just gravitates to. Now, how do I know that I'm eating a half a cup to a cup of food? I have to measure it. I can't eyeball it because I've also tried that in the past too, where I've said, oh, I'll just spoon a couple of spoons out onto my plate and, oh, that's a cup. And, if I go back later and measure it, it's far from a cup. So, establishing boundaries as far as my yes foods and my no foods are important to me. Establishing boundaries as far as how often I'm going to eat per day, which for me is 3 meals a day. Understanding the boundary of no snacks and no grazing for me. And that's a rule that my surgeon gave. And so I know some people are allowed to have a snack or two, but for me, that doesn't work. And you know what? When I look back at that situation, I'm actually pretty thankful. I used to, like, 3 months post-op, I would sit and look at videos and I would see people talking about their snacks, and I would go, they get snacks and I don't get snacks. And I was actually a little jealous, a little bit, being honest. But now I understand why that would not necessarily work for me. Now, being forced to eat 3 meals a day really makes me concentrate on what type of protein I'm eating. Am I eating a good solid protein? Am I eating good quality food, which is one of the 10 rules that I also have to follow? And when I do those things, when I eat the solid proteins and when I eat the good quality food and stay away from the processed food, then I am able to go from one meal to the next and then be satisfied all throughout the day and not even need or miss or want a snack. I see people fall in the trap of snacking and not necessarily know when to turn it off. And what happens with that is it leads to eating all throughout the day. And at the end of the day, you could potentially be eating the same amount of calories or very close to the same amount of calories that you were eating preoperatively. And so then when the scale is not moving, it's sort of like, well, what's going on? And, a lot of times it's because of those snacks, they add up. Sometimes these protein bars and granola bars and things like that that people are choosing to snack on can be a easy 200-300 calories, whereas most meals that I try to stick to throughout the day are about that. And so I know that I can't, the boundary for me that was given to me, and now that I look back on it, I'm thankful for that boundary of not snacking. And so I ask you, do you have any boundaries? Do you have any boundaries as far as what you will and what you will not eat? And if you don't, and things are working great for you, then that's fine. But if there are some people out there who might be struggling, and for newbies, I would really suggest that you go into the situation thinking this way. But if you're out there struggling and you're stalled or plateaued, the scale's not moving, and you're frustrated, I would say really sit down and assess what it is that you're giving your body. Are you giving your body good quality, solid proteins that will keep you full longer? Or are you picking things like, mashed potatoes and potato chips and cookies? And, that's not doing anything but adding more sugar and adding more calories, and it's not going to keep you full very long at all. And you'll end up eating more throughout the day. And so, again, there are times when I come on and, it's just something that has been sort of in my heart, and I feel impressed upon to sort of share this information with you guys, because I've had various aha moments throughout my journey. I've had, time to sort of sit back and reflect on what has worked and what has not worked. And establishing boundaries, establishing little windows and fences and guidelines that I'm going to live my life by absolutely work for me. I posted like a picture of a plate of food the other day, and somebody said, and I think this was the second time, you don't have to count calories, you don't have to count protein. Yes, I do. I do. And, we all need to figure out what works for us. And if counting calories and counting protein and keeping track with that type of stuff doesn't work for you and you're getting the results that you need, then that's wonderful. But for me, I know what I need to do. I know what my boundaries are. And I know that when I deviate from those boundaries, I don't get the results that I'm looking for. And so know what it is for you. You know, we know what the rules are, but outside of the rules, how are you going to use those rules in addition to some other tips that you've implemented into your life in order to make sure that you're successful? So, just a thought, something again that I have been thinking about and that I wanted to share with you guys. I hope that it's helpful, and I will catch you later. Hey, and if you want to share some of those yes lists and no lists with me, or put some comments down below that everybody else can read, or make video responses, that would be wonderful. And I will talk to you guys later. And until then, be well.